So the people who train in Manchester cover quite a broad spectrum in terms of ages and backgrounds. You know, we've got people not just from Manchester but from other cities and other countries around the world. And in terms of ages, the ages range from probably about 15 years old to 40 years old.
I started when I was 37 and I've been training about 3 years now.
I've been doing parkour for about 4 years now.
I've been training almost 8 years now.
I've been training parkour for about 18 months.
I've been training for about 4 years, I think.
Just over 10 years, maybe 11 years this year. We all train really hard together, but we don't just train individually, we train the whole group. And it's amazing to compare it to different people and different locations. The sense and level of community we have up here, the friendship we have, the bonds that we have, and the training that we develop. So that's the level of community I see from Parkour in Manchester.
We do get quite a lot of new people in Manchester. In fact, there's about one a week, but we always try and make the environment as welcoming as possible. So with so many practitioners here, there's always somebody to show them, you know, some of the basic movements, help them get started.
And they are never ever left standing by the side. It's really, really nice because we've got such a pool of knowledge here that we can help people with.
It should always be about helping others improve as well as yourself, because you really want to see an entire community thriving in parkour. You've got to increase the community numbers. And it's nice to see that we're really open to new people coming, and we don't shun people that aren't as good or aren't as capable. We try and develop them so they will be as good as capable as we are, so they can see new challenges, because sometimes new people come and they can see, they see something we haven't seen before, or they are a different style of training, or they have a different body shape, and we have to adapt to their needs. So we adapt and they adapt and train hard.
And I think that's really one of the key things about parkour. You know, it shouldn't be exclusive in any way. It shouldn't feel that when you go to a training session, there's people doing things which are well beyond your capability, and that, you know, you're not welcome there because you can't do those things. The whole purpose of the training is to progress and become better in yourself. So yeah, new people, you know, everybody here was new at one point. So we want to help those people. And that's part of the enjoyment of the training, in a sense, passing on the knowledge that you've acquired. And we learn stuff from them, they learn stuff from us.
I'm originally from Israel. I moved to Manchester 5 years ago. I would say that I progressed quite slowly. I'm relatively older. I started doing parkour when I was 28. So obviously, mentally, some of the things take a bit more time. But there is constant progress, so I'm happy about that. I think it's about 50% conditioning and 50% parkour. Just, you know, constantly getting ideas from people and just trying to do the moves that I see. Definitely in Manchester, very supportive community. When I started, had absolutely no experience in any sort of movement. Didn't do any dancing, climbing, martial arts. Used to go to the gym a lot, but it really doesn't help. If anything, sometimes it means that you'll progress a bit slower because you might not be as flexible as other people. So you need to rebuild yourself, if you like. So yeah, definitely just do it. Don't be afraid to start.
I've learnt more about the ways to practice parkour rather than just having fun with it, because for me now it's become much more than a hobby, and I've really got into parkour. But especially since moving to Manchester and training with the Northern Parkour guys, I've learnt a lot about more experienced chasers and how they practice in order to continue practicing for the rest of their life.
Yeah, even though I'm 40 years old now, I'm definitely fitter than I was, say, when I was 30. A lot of people my age, you know, tend to be drinking in pubs and, you know, settling down, eating kebabs and putting on weight, and they don't seem to be very capable. They don't seem to be willing to try new things. I kind of find younger people are a bit more open-minded and willing to, you know, to maybe balance on a rail. They don't care that they're doing it in public. generally we practice a lot of smaller obstacles at ground level before we build up to doing them at height. And we looked at quite a large 180 at Castlefield recently. There's a smaller 180 down at the bottom where you can sort of test it in relative safety, and then you can progress to the higher one further up. And there's a sort of middle ground one as well that you can test it.
There's always a process whenever you're building towards what you might consider to be a dangerous movement. So in the case of this arm jump, for example, we did the lower one first. And to begin with, even that was a challenge, just hanging off that low wall. And that's what we did initially, just hang off it, have a look over your shoulder. You're assessing the distance, you're looking at how much you've got to drop, how you might land it, what the surface is like, considering if you're going to slide down it or not. And you might even then go to the landing area, hang off that and just get a feel for it. We did that a few times. And then I felt that I was ready to do the initial 180, did that one, and it was fine, you know, because I trained towards it and mentally I was prepared for it as well. And then eventually I was ready to do the higher one. And that was a real challenge, but that was a long-term goal. And I knew months before I did it that was what I was going to build towards. I think when you train in parkour, you really need to have some goals. So on a week-by-week basis, you know, work towards things, whether it's refining your landing technique or it's a particular movement. It's always good to have a definite focus because that really helps you to progress and it gives you something to work towards. What have you been working on in particular yourself?
Cat passes, dive cat passes in particular, because where I used to train there weren't any which you could practice, and also I wasn't too keen on them, you could say. But I've worked up to a really quite awkward one, which was quite a challenge for me. But there was several parts to it. There was a small wall which you had to clear in order to do the dive cat pass. But then the second wall that you were landing on with your hands was lower, which meant that the angle that you were diving at was quite awkward. So learning to do that and managing that successfully was really good.
There's a pretty hairy arm jump at the top of Castlefield roof. It's about, I think, 17 feet, well, of my feet. And it's about probably 20 foot drop. It's a really small ledge. It's done. It's well within my capabilities now, but it's just manning up, the mental block I've got. And I know I can get it. I've got a bit of a dodgy knee, so probably next weekend, but yeah, that's definitely something I'm going for. And it's actually amazing how much I've improved recently from moving back up to Manchester. It's been something I never thought possible, that my training could get that good. So I'm really happy that I'm back up north, and I'm happy I found some good challenges.
Here you can see a game taking place which is called Ninjas versus Zombies. So the ninja is the person who's got to navigate the course. They've got to go over all the rails and basically get to this side where they've got to retrieve a bag. All of the zombies are blind, so they've only got their sense of hearing, and you've got to try and evade the zombies, get the bag, come back again without getting detected. Back. Sometimes you can use the sound of a passing train actually to mask the sound of your own movement. There's various tricks. People have also tried throwing shoes, throwing stones, throwing carrots, which is a bit unusual. But yeah, various tactics can be employed, as well as, of course, stealth. One thing which perhaps doesn't always come across in videos that you might see of parkour is the process that people go through to build up to stuff. So in the background here you can see Mike and Zane working on something, and Zane has a very methodical approach to parkour, where he'll build up to something, he'll work on it, and he'll find ways to accomplish what he's working towards, both from a mental perspective and from a physical. So he's looking at just doing the strides across these castle battlements, I suppose you could call them, and you know, it's a barrier for him. So he's working on it, he's thinking about the spacing, how he needs to position his feet, and he'll get it, you know. And I think when you go to a parkour training session and you see somebody with that kind of approach, where they're very focused on what they're doing, those are the people who are actually training what I would consider to be proper parkour. Because in parkour, you're not trying to do the most impressive stuff, you're trying to do the stuff which is a challenge to you. And you know, that's what you can see here.
At the moment, I know I can do it in theory, but the height is like, I'm trying to work over that. It's like, well, I could definitely do it, it's just the height is like, your subconscious, your right eye is just looking at the drop and you're like, But I will hopefully in a few, like, get it either today or in a few weeks, but I will get it eventually.
So a couple of weeks have passed and you finally got the strides, I see.
Yeah, it was. I tried it over the other wall, but I wasn't getting it, and Mike came over and showed me this wall, which is the same distance, but the top of the walls have got more grip on. And at first I was getting 3, and then I got 4, and then Mike's like encouraged me some more, and then I was getting it, and I just thought I'm gonna have to just go for it with my strides, because I'd been practicing strides in Liverpool a few weeks ago when we went on a trip there.
Great, so what's the goal next?
To get it in a few weeks over at the castle, the actual other wall that I was trying at first. Yes, finally.
So that's it. We tried to think of something to say at the end of the video, which would be an outgoing comment, but there wasn't really anything to say other than the fact that we're just going to keep on training. And so if anyone's watching it and wants to join us, feel free, just come to Manchester and, you know, you're more than welcome to train with us.